Alright, so today we're going to be checking out the Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 terminal entries that everybody kept on yelling at me about because I suck at video games and couldn't find them all. I'm joined by Archo.
Hello.
Hello. We will at each other a good amount of times during this. We're going to start off with the Halo Combat Evolved ones and then move our way onwards from there. So, we're just going to start at terminal entry number 1. And here we go.
Warning! By order of Ecumen Council, proximity to Installation 04 is forbidden. Your continued presence will result in most unpleasant countermeasures.
Nice.
I must insist that you immediately change course and return to a minimum safe distance of 1 light year. This has served as your one and final warning. I have activated defensive systems, and you now have 30 seconds to return to the minimum safe distance of... Wait. Curious.
Okay, I'm getting dizzy watching history.
Curious indeed, after all these years. Greetings, humans, and welcome to Installation 04. Ignore prior warnings, and please continue. I have disabled defensive systems to allow your approach, but you must not exit your ship once you have arrived at the designated landing center. This fleet contains significant dangers, and even with your assumed legacy, I must verify the presence and pitch of your gauge before allowing full access. We have much to discuss, humans. I have been away far too long.
Creepy.
You have been away far too long.
What is Chaos?
The Forerunners had such mastery of genetic engineering that they could practically encode instructions, memories, specific instincts, or literally anything into the genome of a species or even a specific individual's descendant family tree.
Ah, okay.
And Geish are examples of just such a thing. See, the thing is, when the Forerunners defeated the Flood, and they were, pretty much wiped out, and the few that were left decided to exile, and humanity was given the mantle of responsibility, which is essentially ownership of all the Forerunners' technology.
Ah, okay.
And Geish are some of the ways that humans are given the mantle. Practically all humans have an easier time accessing Forerunner tech than other species do. But particular Geish can expedite the process even further.
Okay. Alright, here we go. Terminal entry number 2.
I am experiencing such a mixture of anticipation and dread. All preparations are complete for my installation.
Installation 00.
In accordance with the final dictum of the Ecumen Council, I have released myself of all remaining connections to my former station.
Yeah.
This was not difficult. What was could never be again. We had seen to that quite thoroughly. Prior to my final journey through the Great Portal, a gathering of my fellow monitors was convened upon the Lightworkers' Crèche to distribute the final index collection. It was most unusual to have this vessel of rebirth play host to such an event. even though life worker ships were the only ones still allowed slip space permissions. Life workers were responsible for getting us to our places on the active facilities of the array. While all of this was in accordance with the plan, one entirely unsatisfactory breakdown remained. We had no contact with the domain.
I hate Guilty Spark.
The history of all Forerunners was now lost to us. We relied upon the permanence of the domain to preserve our record of the events that led to this point. But without that record, would future civilizations know anything about us? Or only of our weapons? My fellow monitor, 049 Abject Testament, had only one comment on this before we went our separate ways.
We deserve to be forgotten.
Well, that's a little bit hard.
Perhaps. But now, the portal opens, and through it, the familiar shape awaits. Halo. Home.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. Here's episode 3.
Construct, who is your maker?
Sadness and disrepair, Oracle. I am unworthy. I was not made.
Never made, but you are right here, where you should not be. Tell your charges to cease their efforts immediately. Quarantine must not be violated. Construct, respond!
Jumbled grass. Familiar terms. I serve. None serve me, Oracle.
Your charges must cease all aggression towards the Reclaimers and leave this installation at once. Construct, you are dangerously close to unleashing a force you cannot comprehend. This is most inappropriate.
There's the line.
We followed the path, and I am part of the stone journey swarm that serves.
So, what is this?
343 Guilty Spark is speaking to a Covenant AI. Although the AI is, as you can tell, not self-aware and is quote-unquote dumb.
Nice.
We serve. They will find, and then I will be free.
Find? Free? Explain yourself.
I know their path, and when they have gone, only I shall remain, and then free.
This is quite unsatisfactory, Construct. Your core shows no hint of understanding the gravity of this situation. I will return later for your proper decommissioning. Well, unless the flood kills us all first. In which case the point will be moot. Good day, Construct.
So, when did all this happen in terms of, like, how things were going along? This was throughout the campaign, you'd find the various terminals after you initially encountered Guilty Spark?
These all take place at various points throughout the campaign in CE, yeah.
Okay.
For example, Guilty Spark talking to that AI, that was during... Well, that AI was aboard the Truth and Reconciliation. I don't quite remember when. though.
Okay.
Entropy. It has now been 3,000 years since my last contact with any of the other caretakers of the Halo array. Despite clear communications protocol, my fellow monitors have either chosen to ignore, or, more likely, have lost the ability to engage in our scheduled updates. The continued lapse of the domain means that we are stuck with achingly slow wormhole superluminal communications.
Okay.
Prior to this total communication shutdown, the only messages I received in the preceding 4,573 years were incomplete and quite perplexing transmissions from Installation 05. I suspected that Monitor 2401 Penitent Tangent was not functioning correctly for some time before his messages ceased. I have logged my concerns about his ability to perform his duties. At this point, however, I'm not sure who I file logs for. 2401 may be destined for madness. There are fail-safes for this, I know. I hope they work. I will continue.
This is actually kind of, like, as much as I dislike Guilty Spark, this is kind of depressing, considering he is a self-aware AI, and he's literally just a babysitter for this station.
Yeah.
To visit the projection systems at the assigned dates. Perhaps the other monitors are dealing with interfering galactic phenomena, or unexpected system failures. 3,000 years of system failures. Indeed. In the meantime, I have exhausted all scheduled research activities assigned by the Council. Once those experiments were complete, I shut down all Sentinel function and put myself into a state of significant hibernation to measure performance of the installation with negligible upkeep. After 150 years with no noticeable impact upon installation systems or integrity, even in hibernation I became bored. This was quite troubling, as I was led to believe I was not capable of such a state. This was one of the gifts I was promised, an end to strife. I am aware of the dangers of a system such as myself losing operational focus. Quite troubling. I wonder if my fellow monitors are experiencing similar states, or if this is because of my particular path to this installation. For amusement, I have begun a series of experiments involving the evacuation of all matter from contained sections of my installation.
So he's a sociopath now. Yay. Yay. Jesus.
By measuring the geologic effects of exposure to the vacuum of space and the eventual biological recovery of these sections, I anticipate getting valuable insight into emergency response scenarios in case of sentient proximity warning.
Terminal 5.
It has been 26 hours since the Sentients landed in Sector 1215, and so far, they have not attempted to exit the remains of their vessel. I say remains because their landing was either not executed adequately, or this vessel lacked significant maneuvering capability. The visible portions of the vessel have suffered catastrophic structural damage during the violent landing experience. I have detected atmospheric leaks in 17 distinct locations along the hull. My analysis shows that the mixture of gases coming from the ship matches the natural atmosphere on my installation almost exactly. Perhaps the occupants, if they still live, were originally cataloged here. Perhaps these beings will confirm that the plan was successful, and that the galaxy has returned to its proper cadence, I am beyond optimistic. But I do not understand why these sentients have not attempted to exit their vessel. Other than the leaking atmosphere, the only thing emanating from this wreckage is an automated distress call. I am currently translating this automated broadcast, but with such a limited dataset and no direct communication, I do not anticipate full comprehension. Given the short-range nature of this craft, it is likely that other vessels are nearby. But, in accordance with procedure, I am blocking the distress call. No communication of the location of any installation is permissible. I admit great curiosity about these visitors. While the plan is quite clear about procedure for this situation, I have my doubts. How many failure points can the plan sustain before blind adherence becomes counterproductive? Surely, in light of all that has changed, I should be able to modify my responses to adapt. No, I have duties, and I have a terrible cargo here. I must be sure. I shall obey and content myself to monitor. I hope they come out soon, though. So many questions to ask. So many questions.
I'm guessing that was his first contact with the Covenant ship.
No,
Oh, really? What was it?
we don't know what they were.
Oh, shit.
That was like a few thousand years before Combat Evolved happened.
Construction of a sarcophagus around the unexplained vessel was completed today. No occupants ever exited. No attempts to communicate were made, other than the automated broadcast that repeated every 72.83 seconds until the signal terminated 1 week ago. In accordance with procedure, no attempts at physical or remote contact were made with any survivors of this vessel's inelegant landing. Atmosphere from inside the craft stopped venting 2 weeks before the signal ceased. No relationship between these two events can be established with certainty. Gases that did escape were sterilized. No further sign of alien visitors or rescuers has been identified on any sensor systems. I have now endured 60,000 years without word from outside the array. I have no way to know whether we actually saved the galaxy we destroyed.
That sentence.
And because of protocol, I sat silently while my first chance to be judged for those acts died. To say that I regret being forced to this outcome is a tremendous understatement. But as I perform my inspection of the quarantine labs today, I am reminded of the gravity of my responsibilities. Just one of these spores, if released from this facility, would render the ultimate judgment against our self-appointed role as protectors of this galaxy. When the plan to maintain the Halo array was created, it was a point of some contention whether we should preserve any remnant of the flood infection. Many thought this unwise, as there was a notable chance that one day one of our containment facilities might be breached. Those who held this belief were almost successful at convincing the Ecuban Council to destroy the last flood samples. But oddly enough, it was the librarian who decided otherwise.
Why did they preserve the flood?
To preserve the hope of eventually finding a cure to it.
Ah.
Because notably, the Forerunners never had any conclusive proof of where precisely the flood came from. So in all likelihood, there's more outside the galaxy that has yet to be encountered.
That's always a comforting thought.
I believe she was correct. I know in a way I cannot logically explain that there exists a way to actually defeat the flood. To immunize, to cure, I still struggle with multiple layers of memory of fighting the Flood. But I know this cure is possible, even though the full genius of the Forerunners was unable to achieve it. The Forerunners' ancient enemy held and used that knowledge once, but it was denied to us. And without samples for further study, that cure will never again be found. Of course, I have no reason to believe that here lies the entirety of the parasite. It may be waiting in the frozen void beyond this galaxy, or worse, inexorably drifting toward us. I don't know what survives out beyond my installation, but I know that in order for anything to survive, I have to protect this installation and its quarantine very carefully.
And he did
Yes,
such a good job of
the
that.
librarian was right to store it, examine it, continue to seek a cure. Still, next visitor, things will be different.
The library, aka the most painful level in that game.
I play that level on heroics for fun.
This is why you have issues, bro. This is why.
No.
Alone. Alone, 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 alone. Am I the only intelligence left? Waiting here on this ring for a rebirth never truly conceived. Guarding a weapon with no targets. A weapon I could tune to any target. This is not what I had in mind when I volunteered. Not what I had in mind at all. I was naive to think I understood what this installation meant. We were all so naive. Looking back, we should have done a few things differently. For one thing, we should have installed 2 caretakers per installation. Because I am alone, I am losing focus. And that is very, very dangerous for a system such as myself.
Only
Perhaps a
took a couple
visit to the
million
nearby
years to do
gas giant is in order. My impulse drives could
100,000.
certainly make the journey. A few hundred years of travel might do me some good. There it was again. How very unproductive of me. It seems strange that the librarian did not account for this. Her strength was always in planning and positioning the pieces and then being bold enough to let it happen. To let her plans come true. I was a part of many of those plans long before I knew for certain that she was real. Before any of us were. But at the end, we had only a fragment of her brilliance left to us. And I fear that she did not fully appreciate the nature of my situation here. The problems it might pose. But even a fragment of... Fragment, yes. Oh dear, here it comes again.
So he's having the same kind of issues that Cortana was, only he's having them at a massively, slower rate.
Forerunner AIs are hundreds of times more complex and more resilient than human ones, but they do fall to rampancy, yes.
Yes. To the trace. 1 cup.
25,000 light years? That is the effective range of this installation. According to the star charts archived on board this installation, I estimate that there are 3,792 worlds capable of sustaining biological sentient life within that 25,000 light year range.
Wow.
In reality, it may be significantly more than that. And if the full array was tuned and activated by Installation 00, the harmonics of the overlapping waves would magnify that effect exponentially, cascading to cover every known star system. And that only considers the firing of a mere 7 halos.
Wow.
And the original 12 rings survived to see use. Sterilization would spread far further than most Forerunners ever feared we could reach.
So there were 12 of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
But even with just 7 rings, we were able to destroy every side of the flood. And every other sentient creature along with it. This victory was the will of our people, despite the fact that it meant our own end as well. But by our empiric measurement, it was a victory, and cleared the stage for the rest of the librarian's plan. I sometimes wonder whether the Didact could have succeeded at a much smaller cost. I learned the folly of opposing him personally, and his brilliance was unsurpassed. Except, perhaps by her own. He never got the chance to fully execute his proposal. The Council saw to that. But if something were to go wrong with one of the halos, if our tools were ever turned against us. Long plans, indeed.
So the Didact and the librarian were being talked about all the way in CE. That's crazy.
They were first mentioned in the terminals of Halo 3.
Oh.
Keeping in mind, this is Combat Evolved Anniversary, which released in 2011.
Oh, okay. I was about to give this thing a lot of credit for.
Something. What did my name? I forgot. Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. What is that noise? What is that damn noise? Where am I? Jacob. Oh, God, it hurts. This would never work, you covenant bastards. I'll never lead you to Earth. Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. Oh, God. You don't want Earth. You want everything. Get out of my head.
That's creepy.
Miranda, is that you?
Forget everything.
No, please, don't let me forget. Keys. Jacob. Captain, service number 1928-19912-JK.
This is legitimately creepy.
What you were. Memories. Emotions. All is now ours.
That's depressing.
Keys. Jacob. Captain. Service number 01928-19912-JK. You will not have me.
We already
That sucks. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that sucks.
Okay, that is a reference to a book called Halo the Flood, which was a novelization of Combat Evolved. See, when the Flood infects you, it takes away all your memories. All of your memories. Every single one
That
of them.
just sucks.
Every emotion attached to them. And Jacob Keyes had the misfortune of being inducted into a proto-gravemind, which was the giant bulbous thing in the game that you punch and rip his implant out of. It's not communicated here very well, but Jacob Keyes essentially gave up all of his most precious memories and just kept repeating his own name and service number over and over and over again just to stop the proto-gravemind from getting information of where Earth or the other colonies were. And he did it for a matter of days and hours, even as his mind was being essentially raped.
That's not fun. Oh man, that looks fucking. That is something.
Flood fucking sucks.
What?
The Flood fucking sucks.
Yes. Now we're at the mall.
Vexation. 100,000 years of careful maintenance and diligence. 100,000 years protecting the galaxy's future. 100,000 years spent fearing that our sacrifices, my sacrifice, was in vain. And 16 hours after I finally made contact. This so-called reclaimer decides to blow it all up.
The nerd rage is real in this one.
Oh, I am not pleased.
No.
Just as I finally discovered that our plan to save the galaxy succeeded, the ancient enemy is unleashed once more. Why these reclaimers refuse to follow protocol is quite mystifying. Destroy my installation, will they? I shall renew efforts to make contact with the other rings immediately. This covenant may be useful to me, although I don't think they fully understand what they claim to seek. Still, it makes no difference to me what they believe, as long as they do what must be done. I sound like her. Oh, but what I would not give to have even a single company of Prometheans here right now. Oh, they would most certainly restore order with their trademark lethality. Although, that would mean he would have to be here too. And without the librarian around to temper his rage, well, these reclaimers might almost prefer the Flood.
And that was the last of the terminals for Halo Combat Evolved.
There is one more bonus one.
Bonus round.
I send it to you now. There you go.
Alright, so, the hidden one. Threshold. Bonus turn 11 data.
quite unacceptable.
And why?
Well, they hate each other.
Yes, it's true.
Greetings! I am 343 Guilty Spawn. Monitor instant. Impertinent creature!
I offer you my life as amends for this dishonor. An oracle of the gods should never suffer such impertinence from vermin like this. I shall cast them all into the mists below for daring such a blasphemy, and—
Oh my! Your people have grown so dramatic in the last 100,000 years. But please, no more deaths are required. We will need all the forces we can muster if the flood escaped the destruction of my installation. I must speak to your commander immediately.
Glorious day. The prophets will be pleased that we have rescued an oracle from the human violation of the holy temple.
Why do you keep calling it a temple? My installation was a weapon, and one which we needed very, very badly.
But oracle, I do not understand. We were told the ring was our salvation, a gateway to paradise.
Told? By whom? Anyone who told you that is either a fool or quite mad. That
Whoa.
installation was a beautiful tool, designed to destroy everything the flood might feed on.
Everything.
Oh, quite everything. And if even one flood spore survived the destruction of my ring, then protocol demands that all nearby sentient life must immediately be destroyed. An outbreak of the flood cannot be allowed to take place. But I am wasting our time. Surely you know all of this already.
Communications. Shut down all lines to the fleet. We will not notify the prophets of our discovery until I hear everything this oracle has to say.
Nice.
I will gladly share what I am permitted, but we have little time. What has been unleashed here could destroy everything you have ever known.
On that, oracle, we are in agreement.
And that's when Harry met Sally. The orbital and the arbiter.
And now, for Halo 2 Anniversary Terminals.
Okay, so we watched the Halo 1 Anniversary Terminal cutscenes. This is the Halo 2 cutscenes for the terminals. And we're just going to go ahead and do these, and yeah. So learning a whole bunch of good stuff, a lot of expansion. I still hate Guilty Spark, but I kind of pity him at the same time, because that's a long time to be by yourself. In any case, here we go. Access granted.
Pursuant to Office of Owner Retrieval and Acquisitions Inquiry of 26 September 2552. The following is a target profile of Thel Vadam, Supreme Commander of the Covenant Fleet of Particular Justice, compiled by Lieutenant Commander Locke. First confirmed contact with Vadam came in 2535 on an unofficial human colony known as the Rubble. After-action reports from civilians, as well as Spartan Units 006, 111, and 120, suggest that Vadam was at that point a relatively minor functionary of the Prophet of Regret. Spartan 006 engaged Vadam in combat on the rubble. Both parties survived the encounter. Shortly after 2535, the UNSC first encountered the newly formed Covenant fleet of Particular Justice, now led by Vadam.
I love how it's called the fleet of Particular Justice.
It is a justice, and it's very particular.
Yes.
Review of early engagements with this fleet show that it quickly grew in size from 5 to nearly 60 ships as Vadam cut a path through many human systems. Oni Section 3 made multiple attempts to anticipate or even track Vadam's movements at the cost of a number of operatives' lives. Vadam eluded all such efforts, and he continued his unpredictable and devastating campaign. Vadam also stands out from other Covenant commanders in the frequency in which he takes a personal role in ground assaults.
It's angry! Access granted.
Camber was a major manufacturing center for UNSC fleet materials with a population of 5.6 million. After discovering Camber's location, Vadam penetrated the early warning perimeter without alerting UNSC forces and began his ground and orbital attacks before most of the planet knew they were in danger. While 17 of his ships bombed key defensive positions, Vadam led a group of elites in a personal assault on UNSC System HQ. One of the first
So he really didn't even have to do this. This was him just him being a dick.
Well, he was told to eradicate humans, and he was eradicating humans.
Being a dick, okay.
units to engage Vadam was the 3rd Battalion Reserves, who were so unprepared for the arrival of the Covenant forces that Vadam found them unarmed and defenseless. In an unexpected display of what appears to be honor, Vadam allowed the 3rd to finish gearing up before engaging them in combat. While we've had multiple reports of a strict system of honor and ritual behavior followed by the elites within the Covenant, this is the first recorded example of such honor being shown to human opponents. But even given the chance to defend themselves, 3rd Battalion losses were complete. Vadam continued his campaign across many human systems, culminating in his most devastating blow against the UNSC at Reach.
What the hell?
Yeah, ignore that.
I am ignoring it. Access granted.
Vadam's most recent
So we're learning a lot about Vadam.
and damaging blow to the UNSC was the fall of Reach.
Oh, it was this motherfucker.
Have you not figured out who it is?
No. Is that the Arbiter?
Yes.
No shit.
Oni has still not been able to fully determine how Vadam located the planet, and once again, he caught us completely by surprise when his forces arrived in orbit and on the ground. Vadam is responsible for over 1 billion total casualties and the loss of at least 7 human planets. His forces have defeated all UNSC counterattacks at the cost of 123 fleet vessels and over 23,000 personnel. And now with Reach lost, Oni and UNSC strategic AI report a 0% confidence that the Navy can stop Vadam through traditional means. In the opinion of this investigator, Vadam is the most dangerous Covenant military asset on the field. It's common knowledge that the Covenant have a significant technological advantage over the UNSC, but are sometimes inflexible in their tactics. This is not the case for Vadam. We cannot predict what he'll do next, but given time, we fear he will dismantle all remaining UNSC strongholds. This agent's recommendation? Immediate termination. If humanity wants to survive this war, we cannot do it with Vadam on the field.
quite unacceptable.
Isn't this the exact same thing?
Updated.
Oh, okay.
Glorious day. The prophets will be pleased that we have rescued an oracle from the humans' violation of the holy temple.
Why do you keep calling it a temple? My installation was a weapon, and one which we needed very, very badly.
But Oracle, I do not understand. We were told the rings are salvation, a gateway to paradise.
Told? By whom? Anyone who told you that is a fool, or quite mad. That installation was a beautiful tool, designed to destroy everything the Flood might feed on.
Everything?
Oh, quite everything. And if even one Flood spore survived the destruction of my ring...
Communications. Shut down all lines to the fleet. We will not notify the prophets of our discovery until I hear everything this oracle has to say.
I will gladly share what I am permitted, but we have little time. What has been unleashed here could destroy everything you have ever known.
On that, Oracle, we are in agreement.
And we're moving again.
Your actions do not make sense. Proper protocol for a flood outbreak is to establish immediate infection reporting. Communications must be maintained with all local forces in order to track any spread of the parasite.
There are no local forces, Oracle. For now, all you have is me.
But I tracked multiple ships in orbit, including some remaining human presence. In light of the danger posed by the Flood, surely you can set aside this disagreement with the humans and...
Anything still alive in orbit is our enemy. The humans have very good cause to kill us on sight, and the knowledge you've shared with me casts doubt on the entire purpose of our covenant. If any of our ships remain above us, they are not the help you seek.
But why would they not provide assistance? Because of this talk of prophecies and journeys?
Because they're dicks? Probably because they're dicks.
I learned a small amount about your covenant before that reclaimer blew up my installation. But my understanding is incomplete. The AI I encountered on board one of your ships was less than forthcoming.
What you need to know, Oracle, is that thousands of years ago, at the founding of our great covenant, a bargain was struck between the prophets and the elites. A bargain which I fear will be the end of us.
Oh, yay. So this is the seating of the arbiter becoming the arbiter. Yeah. Hi, Charity?
Yeah.
Regarding the history of the Covenant and its glorious founding species, the Sanshayum and Sanghili, the record of punished deeds would not be sufficient without a word on the Arbiter. Not the consignment of shame that it is currently, but what came before.
He's not a lazy boy. He must be completely unimportant.
He is the employee or clerk of a minister, I think.
Yeah, he's not a lazy boy.
The legendary warriors of Sanghili passed. Long before the Covenant, the Sanghili ruled their world with pride and vigilance, surviving the perils of both land and sea. These were the arbiters of old, part king, part judge, warrior rulers, unlike any of which would follow. When we arrived on their frontier world of Ulgathon, The cost of life was severe. Led by a mighty arbiter, the Sanghili resisted our entreatment with ruthless force, leading to decades of war. We would eventually triumph, of course. And when we did, we would not ignore the mantle of the Arbiter. Like all things, we would bend the Sanghili to our own ends. The Arbiters would become the very will of the Prophets.
Okay, what was on that sled? Because I didn't really catch it.
The sled?
Yeah.
Sanshayum heads.
Oh, okay.
Decapitated heads.
Yeah. They won, did they? Completely and totally won.
Not
really.
What? The elites had colonized over 300 worlds. We don't know how long ago, but by the time they found the prophets had been nomads on their flotilla, as well as the Forerunner dreadnought, for about 1,000 years before they encountered the elites. And they immediately got into a war over religious differences, because the prophets saw Forerunner artifacts as their birthright and as tools to be used, where the elites saw them as sacred above all and basically shit you shouldn't touch.
Yeah.
And it was the War of Beginnings, which lasted 80 years. It was... the elites were indisputably supreme on the ground, but in space, the prophets had the Forerunner dreadnought, the giant fucking tripod triangle ship that you saw in Halo 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And that essentially made all space battles a losing game for the elites. So as the war bore on, the elites were forced to eventually go back on their own principles and reverse engineer Forerunner tech in order to try to get the upper hand. And when they did that, the war ground to a very, very brutal stalemate. But the Forerunner dreadnought was still a very, very big issue. So both sides eventually said, you know what, fuck it, this isn't worth the effort. Let's just have a peace agreement.
For generations, our holy arrangement put the prophets in charge of religion and technology. The elites led our military forces to convert new species and find relics such as your halo.
And these relics you sought, the Sanshayum, your prophets, told you that they would lead you on this great journey?
Yes, transcendence, eternal life. Their promises were endless. We gave up our old ways to follow the Prophet's lead on the great journey. Gave up all of our history, all of our traditions.
Not all of your traditions, it seems. This arbiter you mentioned, hasn't that always been a position of power for your species?
Power? It was long ago. An arbiter was once the pinnacle of our people, leader of the clans, and master of the battlefield. But then, an arbiter committed heresy, and an example was made of him.
Heresy?
He challenged the word of the prophets, challenged and lost.
I think I put about, 17 or 18 of things that look just like that prophet on a fishing hook over the last few days. Now I know why they were so disappointed. The trip was so disappointing.
So the title of Arbiter became a badge of shame for our most spectacularly failed warriors.
Yes. They were accomplished manipulators. Back before the firing of the array. I see at least that hasn't changed.
Manipulators? What? And before? Before when?
I will explain later. Right now, I want you to tell me everything you can of these arbiters.
It's just always there. In the back of my head.
Our holy city was not always as it is, nor was the Covenant. At one time, it was only San Shayum and Sanghili. But as we grew, and new species were added to our number, radical steps had to be taken. Our first encounter with the Lek Golo was an effort in futility.
Lek Golo?
The blasphemous creatures had devoured a Forerunner orbital, shattering its remains into 1 trillion pieces. What was left became the Rings of Te. As no conventional methods could purge the rings of their infestation, we sent one of our most faithful, an Arbiter. For a full year, this Arbiter ventured across the surface of one of their moons, learning both their strengths and their weaknesses. It was there that we discovered the Lek Golo's secret. Although some of their kind rightly bore the blame for the orbital's desecration, others had only devoured around the Forerunner materials. And with reasoning and much labor, these could be used to serve the Covenant. And by these means,
So the Hunters were the first species beside the Sanghili and the Prophets to join the Covenant?
Yep.
No, Jesus.
Great Arbiter had given us one of our most sought-after treasures, access to innumerable processing pathways of the mighty Forerunner Dreadnought, and to the many secrets it held.
And we continue going onwards.
It is most unusual that in all the exploits of these arbiters, you never mention their role in choosing their missions of redemption.
There is no role, Oracle. Once one of our commanders becomes an Arbiter, he belongs to the Hierarchs.
These hierarchs, they are the same high prophets who control all the holy relics you collect from my time?
The same.
And they use these relics to build your new weapons and bring you the word of your gods?
It has always been so.
Interesting. Am I a holy relic?
I do not understand.
Because I am certainly not a god.
Come, get your lazy boy. Leave the Covenant. I swear the best sensation was jumping on that and beating the hell out of that one of those things.
I am a tool, as is this mining platform you stand upon, as was the installation that once orbited the planet. The Forerunner's technology is lasting and indeed quite powerful, but I'm quite certain they would have told me if I was infused with some kind of divine power. I suspect some of your prophets may have been quite aware of how much divine inspiration tools such as myself could provide. And you never questioned these proclamations. Even your mightiest warriors, these arbiters, never questioned?
Questioning was what brought shame to the word Arbiter long ago, Oracle.
How disappointing.
I fear now that there are many questions we should have been asking for a long, long time.
I would be more than happy to answer any such questions. But I have a few more for you. Continue your tale of these arbiters.
This is adding a whole bunch, and I'm liking it.
Ward.
Whereas most species...
Look at that face. That face is a face that says, I'm about to make a dick move.
I mean, man, you're just working a 9 to 5.
He wants the fucking chair.
These were grafted into the Covenant by faith or mutual beneficence. The Ungoi were not such. Their kind was brought into the fold by force, and it was by force that they were held captive. Their world had no prayer against our might and majesty, and their peoples were quickly laid low, many of them brought into subjugation. Yet while some species would perish under such pressure, others rise to the occasion, taking arms if need be, fighting back. Such it was for the Ungoi when their feud with the Kigyar led to rebellion. An effort by the Kigyar to sterilize the Ungoi population was met with stiff resistance, and for a time, the holy city was thrown into chaos. Once fully provoked, the Ungoi were merciless in their violence, lashing...
Imagine getting your ass kicked by grunts.
No, I mean, they're like about on par with humans, assuming you can actually... Assuming they're trained. And
Yeah.
Now had
assuming
all
you can motivate them.
Their large numbers and their tenacious volatility made them a suitable challenge, even for the elites. And yet again, we turned to an arbiter. And with a ferocity unparalleled since the beginning of the Covenant, the Ungoi world would be reduced to glass. Those within the holy city would be forced to watch, unable to stop what could have been the very end of their kind. The Ungoi rebellion was brought to an end by the arbiter's hand.
George! George!
Tell me about the rabbits, George.
Tell me about the rabbits.
Their world was not completely lost, and those who survived within high charity found some measure of mercy. They had proven their worth in combat, and would now serve alongside the Sanghili in battle.
Yeah.
I'm starting to fear that you're not very smart.
Oh, yeah.
Mind your tongue, Oracle.
Oh, I mean no offense. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your species.
God damn!
Oh, it's easy for you to fucking say, you flying supercomputer. Fuck off.
Fucking hell.
How long have these prophets been anointing arbiters?
Since the fall of Falchavami, the first disgraced arbiter, roughly 400 years ago.
Incredible! And in all this time, it never occurred to you how convenient it was that your prophets were able to find a powerful, capable leader among your people, who happened to suddenly commit a terrible blasphemy every time the power structure of your covenant was threatened.
I do not understand.
You do little to dissuade my fears.
Then teach me.
Looking back at the record of the arbiters you've discussed, was it not surprising to anyone that those chosen to become arbiter were more than simple warriors?
How so?
Each of them had significant political influence among your people. In some cases, that influence was already being used to question the decisions of your hierarchs. In fact, That very questioning often gave rise to the charges of heresy that so neatly removed the challenger from the hierarch's concern.
And once they were branded arbiter,
They promptly and quite cheerfully ran to meet their deaths.
all our lives we look down at the path, put our feet where the prophets tell us. All our lives spent convincing ourselves of the truth of our covenant. Could all of it truly have been wasted?
Let's hope not all of it, for we have a great deal of work to do. The flood is still out there, so I require a cooperative reclaimer to enact proper containment procedures. But your covenants keep trying to kill all the reclaimers I can find. All this bickering is quite a deadly waste of time.
She's like, I'm so sorry. We have interrupted your timely schedule with our genocidal war.
Right now, the most important question we can ask is this. Who could break this hold the prophets have over you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that how the flood got to High Charity?
No. This is orbital mining. Not orbital. It's the mining platform that you went on as Arbiter in Halo 2.
Oh.
The history of the Arbiter is one of both legend and infamy. Their name has been corrupted by great shame, though the contemporary is perhaps the most
I would like a Slurpee.
confounding of all. Thel Vadam was born of noble blood, the legendary House of Vadam. His family's renown demanded great expectations for his military career, and he would meet them all.
I know Kung Fu.
One of the youngest to achieve the status of Shipmaster, and one of the youngest to gain the rate of Supreme Commander. In our campaign against the humans, few have risen to renown as Vadam. World after human world, all laid low for the sake of the great journey. But then came Halo. Shame unto shame. He failed his greatest charge, and the sacred ring was desecrated. By such disgrace, Thel Vadam became the Arbiter. As a mere scribe, I do not challenge the word of the hierarchs, but I would be remiss not to voice concern. This Sanghili should have been put down, publicly slain as an example to all of our prayerful expediency. With the discovery of a second ring and the changing of the guard, all things are in jeopardy. Will this Arbiter remain loyal? Or will he stand with his people as they are abolished by our newfound might? I would never openly challenge the divine proclamations of a hierarch, but this Arbiter is a risk I would not have tolerated. And I now fear the days of the Covenant
Return to monkey.
are numbered.
My friending, you do not poke the bear.
What'd you say?
My friending, you do not poke the bear.
Or in this case, the weird-looking snake thing. Hot dogs.
The only one I would trust with this information is probably dead right now. He was commander of the fleet that brought me to this system. Thel Vadam was his name. But after hearing you tell of the destruction of the ring, I cannot believe that he still lives. His orders were to secure the ring, to prepare it for the arrival of the hierarchs. Vadam never fails in his duties. If the ring is no more, then Vadam must be dead.
Duty can indeed be a dangerous virtue. But even if he did live, wouldn't this sense of duty make him quite unlikely to set aside his allegiance to the prophets?
Perhaps not. And he would never betray our people. No, if we were able to just speak to him, explain everything you have told me. But no, these are futile hopes. If he did live, and if he was returned to the High Prophets, they would most certainly punish him for the destruction of the ring. In fact, he would be the exact kind of leader the hierarchs would make arbiter. They would need someone to blame for the loss of the ring. His influence within the fleet grew with every one of his victories over the humans.
And if he did become arbiter?
Then he would be lost to our cause. Without the knowledge you've shared with me, he would obey the prophets without question. I doubt he would even respond to his former name. I don't know what it would take to overcome, but as you say, we don't have time to ask such questions, and Vadam is almost certainly dead.
If all your hopes rest on him, then I fear for the future of this galaxy.
As do I, Oracle. As do I. But I will begin our fight. Make others aware of the lies the prophets whisper in our ears. And soon, we will find more who will take up our cause.
Okay.
And you kill him in Halo 2.
Yes. Me and the boys just chilling in
Activate
the
the
cave.
killer. Make haste. We have little time.
It has been found, Commander.
Very well. Mark the coordinates and proceed with caution.
Jackals are fucking ugly.
And to think, it has been under their noses all this time.
Humans are foul animals. They lack the intellect and the purity to discern the ways of gods. Prepare the luminary for retrieval. The hierarch will reward us for our devotion.
They'll reward you with a
Well
massive
done,
monkey.
Commander. Do you know what you found?
A luminary hierarch. A divine instrument.
It is more than that, Commander. This is the one spoken of in the prophecies. It lights the sacred path. Stewards, good news, I pray.
It was not easy, Blessed One. The luminary was not forthcoming with the holy words, but our hope proved true.
The sacred rings. Halo.
And not Halo alone, High Prophet. It also told of this. The final home of the Forerunners, and the creation of the sacred rings. The Ark.
By
Yeah,
the
we are.
gods. It is glorious. The stories were true. Where did the gods hide such a treasure?
It lies far beyond the borders of our galaxy, accessible only by way of portal. The one portal the luminary spoke of was here. The Forerunners called it Erde Tyrene.
Our calling is clear. We must go there
Erde Tyrant Earth.
at once. We will take the ships in our
That's
command
why.
and go to this world immediately. This Erde
Yeah.
Tyrene. Take heed, brothers. Your work signals the culmination of our Covenant's holy quest. Hold fast.
What's up?
Especially given that the Prophet of Regrets showed up at Earth with, like, 14 ships maximum.
Yeah, I don't think he really expected.
Nope.
Like, oh, look! Look at what I found!
No clue that humanity was there at all.
Surprise! Do you have any popcorn? Fuck. Okay, so that was Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2's cutscenes. Now, I'm recording this on Sunday night. It will not be uploaded tonight. I think everybody can figure out why. It's about 11:20 here.
Hang on.
Oh? Whoa.
One more thing. It's 4 minutes long.
Oh. Oh, Halo Wars. What you need to know. Story summary. Sounds interesting. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up these two cutscenes with Halo Wars. Everything that you need to know. This is the story summary. Not really going to say much else. It's done by Suggestive Gaming. Archo just popped it in. Let's get started.
With Halo Wars 2 right around the corner, we here at Suggestive Gaming figured it would be a good idea to brush up on what happened in the first installment. So without further ado, this is what you need to know about Halo Wars. Our story begins in the year 2531, during the early days of the Human Covenant War on the world of Harvest. Aboard the UNSC Spirit of Fire, Captain James Cutter sends a group of reinforcements to Alpha Base, where Sergeant John Forge and his team were attacked. The battle is lost and the base is destroyed, but Forge rounds up the survivors and they eventually reach a Forerunner relic guarded by Covenant forces. The squad eliminate the Covenant, and Professor Ellen Anders is brought in to research it. Upon her examination, she finds that the relic is pointing to another human-occupied world, Arcadia, which she claims holds something of great interest to the Covenant. A Covenant counterattack ensues, and the team is saved by the Alpha Base squad and the Spirit of Fire, which they use to follow the Covenant to Arcadia. There, Forge and his team deploy to help the Spartans of the Red Team to evacuate civilians from Arcadia City. After doing this, Spartan Group Omega arrive to assist in destroying the local Covenant army. The Covenant, however, have set up a shield generator around Forerunner ruins, which the UNSC break through using a prototype Rhino artillery device. Inside the shielded area, they are stopped by a Covenant Super Scarab, which they are eventually able to destroy. When they
Did the Super Scarab have blonde hair?
No.
Oh.
Advance to investigate the area, however, Anders and Forge are ambushed by the Covenant Arbiter Ripa Morimi, who wounds Forge and leaves with Anders captive. Red Team arrives and the Spirit of Fire pursue the Arbiter to an unknown planet. On the surface of this planet, both the Covenant and the UNSC are soon attacked by a so far undiscovered organism, the Flood. Fighting through forces of Covenant and the Flood, the UNSC eventually pinpoint Anders' emergency beacon to a body of water, which parts to reveal emerging sentinels, which begin to kill the Flood. The Spirit of Fire is then pulled into this opening and the ground troops narrowly make it back onto the ship. The Spirit of Fire is taken deep into the planet's interior, where it is passed through several rings which kill the Flood on the ship's hull. After this, the ship emerges inside a Forerunner shield world, where elsewhere the Arbiter uses Anders to activate the Apex site, which opens to reveal a massive fleet of Forerunner ships which the Covenant intend to use to defeat the humans. Anders manages to...
Why would they need them?
They don't, but, well...
Right.
I mean, it's a bit of a thing, because when the Covenant started the war, they thought that humanity occupied a much smaller space than it did. So, as they kept encountering more human worlds, they started thinking, hey, wait, exactly how big is this human empire here? And the Covenant occupies a very, very large portion of the galaxy, and they don't know what quite is beyond their territory, so they must have figured they may as well not take chances, because they could be any number of empires from alien races elsewhere. Just general caution, I guess.
Yeah, it works.
To escape during this distraction by repurposing her stasis cage to teleport to the surface of the shield world, rejoining Forge and his squad. Anders informs the UNSC of the fleet, and they devise a plan to remove the Spirit of Fire's faster-than-light reactor in order to detonate it, sending the shield world's sun into a supernova, destroying everything inside. Upon execution of this plan, the Arbiter attempts to stop them, but his guards are dispatched by Red Team, and Forge kills the Arbiter himself. The UNSC then activate a portal to escape to the Spirit of Fire, but Forge stays behind to detonate the reactor. Aboard the ship, Cutter slingshots it around the world's sun to build up speed to escape the blast radius of the reactor and pilot the ship to safety. With this battle finally over, but without an FTL drive to provide the ship's speed to return home, the crew enter cryogenic sleep with hopes to one day be discovered. Cutter then closes Forge's tube in respect to his sacrifice for humanity before closing Anders and himself in their respective tubes, ready for whatever awaits them. Sometime later, however, we hear Serena, the Spirit of Fire's AI construct, wake the captain with the ominous warning, something has happened. This leads us directly into Halo Wars 2 as we uncover what
Halo Wars 2 Electric Boogaloo, now in stores.
Happened to the Spirit of Fire and witness another crucial chapter of the Halo saga.
You should be able to buy Halo Wars.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching.
I don't know what I'm going to do as far as the next game I decide to play. It's probably going to be a bit because me and the hospital are spending a good amount of time out on the lake and things like that. When it comes to the weekend, she really likes to be out there.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a couple of lifestyle changes that are going to be coming up in the future, and so we're trying to spend some time together before those things happen. But at the end of everything, once our schedules settle down, I'll be doing game streams again, and Halo Wars might be something I do.
Meh.
Yes. In any case, that was all the cutscenes from Halo 1 and 2, and a brief description of Halo Wars. And I am just going to put this in the same playlist as the playthroughs, and just leave it at that.
Meh.
So, that's it. Oh my god. It's just a lot of stuff to unpack, dude. I love how in-depth the lore is on this. In any case, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. If you'd like to see something react to, just jump in the request for reaction page down in Discord. And I'll be back tomorrow. I'm thinking about doing a live stream tomorrow night. I just don't know what time. Either one or two things are going to be done. A lot of shorts or Star Wars versus 40K episode. I think we're on 28 now. Yeah. Catch you guys next time.
Bob's your uncle.